Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Cope Life Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited about today's episode because we're talking about how you can stop anxiety attacks. As always, I'm Dr. Charleston Gaines, and today we're going to just dig into real simply when you feel an anxiety attack coming on, what can you do to stop it? Every time that I come on here, what we're doing is we're just working towards building our Cope Life community. And I know a lot of us within the community deal with anxiety. We have anxiety attacks. We are anxious. We're stressed. We're going through a lot of things. And if you can relate, then this is for you. Simply put, anxiety attacks can be very powerful and overwhelming. And sometimes anxiety attacks, they they kind of destroy your day, right? I'm talking about there are people who feel like they can't breathe, you're hyperventilating, your mind and your thoughts and your body are all over the place. And the reason for that is because of the mind body connection. What happens is your body is having a physiological response to anxiety, to whatever triggered that response, that behavior, that stress, fight, or flight. And so, what you want to be able to do is control it. Now, understand when I say stopping anxiety attacks, that can have a lot of different meanings. For example, when I say stop an anxiety attack, I'm talking about in the moment. I'm talking about what you can do in the moment when you feel it coming on, right? So you're in a situation where you can feel in your body that the anxiety attack is coming on. Sometimes people don't even know what triggered them. Sometimes people don't even know why it's beginning. And so what happens is you feel the anxiety attack begin to come on, and then it kind of freaks you out. You don't know why you're having an anxiety attack. Why are you doing this now? Why is my body betraying me in this moment? That's what you feel. You don't like it. It can be scary. You want to know how to stop it. So the first thing you have to do to stop an anxiety attack, it sounds simple, but it can be difficult. The first thing you have to do is acknowledge that you're having an anxiety attack. So often when we begin to feel overwhelmed about certain things, events, incidents, we freeze. And so when you think of a fight, flight, or freeze response, you often think about freezing as some kind of physiological response, like my body freezes, I can't move. And that's exactly what that is. But it also happens in the brain. You have the freeze response in your brain. And so when you begin to have an anxiety attack, you freeze up in your mind, your brain, your thoughts. So instead of acknowledging what is happening, instead of acknowledging this feels like an anxiety attack, what you actually do is you stop and you pause and you think, what is happening? What's happening right now? What's happening to me? What's going on? And you freeze. And because you were unable to or choose not to acknowledge what is happening, you're not in a position to do something about it. So the first thing you have to do is just acknowledge, hey, this feels like the beginning of a panic attack. And so that's what I'm talking about today when I talk about stopping an anxiety attack. And I use the word panic attack. To some people, they're interchangeable, and to some people, they're not, right? So if anyone is bothered by that, I don't mean to just act like they're the same thing, but to some people, they use those terms interchangeably. And the physiological response is very similar for both of them. I'm talking about what happens in the beginning. So this episode is not about completely stopping yourself from ever having them. And also, this video is not about what you can do when you've completely lost it, you're completely overwhelmed. And when I say that, I'm talking about those instances that some people have where it's too late to stop it. You've already, whether it's collapsed on the floor, you've already, begin to lose just kind of your wherewithal, where you are, what's going on, you're hyperventilating, things like that. Your body can get to a point where you are unable to think your way through things. And so I know that's uncomfortable. It's hard to hear that, but I want you to understand that I'm talking about a specific point in time in today's episode. And that specific point in time is when you recognize, you feel the anxiety attack coming on. What can you do in the moment? And what I want to do is just tell you about three simple techniques that you can do. And understand this. There's a difference between simple and easy. So these techniques are very simple in the way that you can employ them. That does not mean it's easy, right? Something can be simple in regards to, is it complex? Are there a lot of steps? Are there a lot of directions? Does it take a lot of practice? And for these three ways of defeating an anxiety attack, no, there's not a lot of steps. It's not very complicated. It's something that you can do, but it's not easy. Because you can do it and the steps are very simple, they're very easy to follow, that doesn't mean that it's going to be very easy to implement every time. And I'm telling you this because I don't want you to think that this is some kind of guarantee, like every time you do this, it's going to work 100% of the time. What I'm here to tell you is that you have the ability to stop an anxiety attack when you feel it coming on using these three techniques. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump right in. And the first one is called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. So again, the 5-4-3-2-1 method to stop anxiety attacks. And all of these different methods take practice. So you can do this even when you're not having an anxiety attack, so that when you feel one coming on, you're able to implement this because you have done it before. So the 5-4-3-2-1 method is just really is bringing your senses into play to help you. So the first thing you do is you think of 5 things you can see. So I'm just going to kind of go through this in the space that I'm in right now. All right. So, I said this before. Again, the very first step, of course, is acknowledging that you're having an anxiety attack. So that's the first step. I feel it in my body. I don't know what's going on. Maybe something triggered me, something didn't. I don't know what it is, but feel, I can feel my heart rate beginning to speed up. I can feel kind of a shortness of breath. I feel like I have to put a little effort in. And so instead of reacting to that emotionally with fear or more anxiety, I've acknowledged that I'm at the beginning of an anxiety attack. So now I'm going to choose to implement the strategy, the 5-4-3-2-1. And so the first thing is for me to name 5 things that I see. So I look around and what do I see? I see this microphone. I see my monitor in front of me. I see a door to the room. I see a wall. And I see, as I can see in the camera, that there is a blue light behind me. So, first thing, acknowledge that I'm about to have an anxiety attack. I can feel it coming on. Take a deep breath. Look around. Okay, what are 5 things I can see? Microphone, laptop, blue light behind me, a wall, and a door. The next thing, 4 things that I can feel. So what can I feel, right? So I have to pay attention. I have to think, using my brain. What do I feel? I can feel my shirt on my body. I can feel my glasses on my face. I can feel my feet on the floor, and I can feel the chair against my back. And so I've done 2 things, 5 things I can see, 4 things I can feel, and now 3 things that I can hear. What can I hear? So I have to listen, right? Still breathing slowly, attempting to control my breathing pace. And I can hear the buzzing from my laptop. I can hear some noises from the neighbor's dog. The fence is close. I can hear them playing by the fence. On the other side of this window that you can't see, but it's close to me, I can hear the neighbor's dog. And I can also hear a car driving by. I don't think that you can hear it, but I can hear it. So I'm continuing to try to take calm breaths, and I've listed 5 things I can see, 4 things that I can feel, 3 things that I can hear, and now 2 things that I can smell. Well, 2 things that I can smell. I tell you what, to my left, there's an open container of chocolate milk. It's it's empty, so there's nothing spoiled, but I can smell the chocolate. So I can smell the chocolate, and this table, this desk that I'm sitting at is made of wood, and I can smell the wood. So I'm going through this process of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 model, the process. And so I acknowledge that I feel an anxiety attack coming on. I take a deep breath, paying attention to how I feel and my breathing. And then I've identified 5 things that I can see, 4 things that I can feel, 3 things that I can hear, 2 things that I can smell. And then the last one, is I wrote these down. And so the last thing is um, one thing, and this is different for everybody, but like one thing that I can taste. And you can change that up. It doesn't have to be taste. Like that's what I have written down. And for a lot of people, maybe it's something you ate recently. Maybe you have some gum. Maybe you don't taste anything. It can also be, again, something you feel. You can name something else that you see. You can name something else that you hear. It can be anything. But the point is to go through the process 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another thing that you can do, this is the second technique that you can do to stop an anxiety attack. And so before I get into this, I kind of want to explain what is going on with these 3 different techniques. So an anxiety attack is physiological. And what happens is something triggers your stress response, something triggers a fight or flight in you. And so what you do is you respond or you react physiologically, and your body thinks, how do we survive? How do we not die in the situation? Well, evolution has taught us that we're either going to have to fight or flee, one or the other. So how do we do that? Well, if we breathe faster and our heart pumps blood faster, then we can get more oxygen to the muscles that we need. Like maybe a few thousand years ago, if you had to run from a saber-toothed tiger or a woolly mammoth, you didn't have a car back then, you needed more blood to get to your legs with the oxygen, and also carry things like the adrenaline and the cortisol, right? And so your body's preparing to fight or to flee. So that's what's happening physiologically. You are prepared to invoke life-saving measures. But we know that during an anxiety attack, you're actually not running from a bear. There actually is no imminent threat. But how do you tell your brain that you don't need the adrenaline? How do you tell your brain, I don't need to hyperventilate. I don't need to pass out. I don't need to get dizzy. I don't need my heart pumping blood fast and furiously throughout my body. Because since you're not running for your life, the adrenaline doesn't even know where to go. You have oxygen flowing faster through your body, but you don't need that. And so when you employ these tactics to stop the anxiety attack in the beginning phases, what you're doing is you're finding ways to use your body to tell your brain there is no imminent threat. Your brain is telling your body, pump blood faster, get oxygen to the muscles faster, and your body is responding, no, thank you, I don't need that. And so there's resources, right? There's a certain amount of energetic resources in your mind. And so when we're having a conversation, like right now, you're listening to this, you're using the thinking part of your brain. You're using your neocortex. It's towards the top of the brain so that the information is taken in through your senses and it's going to that part of the brain to be processed. But when you're in panic mode, when you're fighting for your life, there's no time to process the information. It goes straight to the amygdala, and then your body reacts. And so what we're doing is we're taking control from the amygdala, from the emotional centers of the brain, and we're taking control from there and moving it back to the thinking centers of the brain. And the way that we do that is by slowing down our breathing and slowing down our heart rate. And so then the brain recognizes, due to the messages from the body, the brain recognizes we can stop this adrenaline rush. We can stop this hyper, pumping of blood and oxygen to different muscles of the body. We can stop that. And so what happens is when you do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, you have to think, you have to pay attention. And so you're thinking, okay, I see a monitor, I see a microphone. And so as I use those words and process that information, it takes a certain amount of energy in the thinking part of my brain. So that energy moves back towards the information processing center and out of the amygdala. And I'm using my hands this way because the amygdala is kind of, it's about ear level, and the thinking centers of the brain are more towards the top of the brain. And so that's what's happening. You're using your body to tell your brain we are not under attack. It's simple as that. And you do that by thinking and choosing to think so that you can process information instead of reacting emotionally. And so again, the first technique is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And the second one is box breathing. Box breathing is a technique used by a lot of first responders because, yes, they may need the adrenaline rush. They may need the extra oxygen because of what they're doing. Maybe they are running into a burning building, or maybe you're in combat somewhere and you don't have to be kicking down doors, shooting at people. Maybe you're a field medic and you're trying to save somebody's life. So you might need that extra adrenaline. You might need that extra oxygen. But what you don't need, what you never need in the middle of an emergency, is an anxiety attack. And so a lot of these first responders are trained on box breathing. And what that is your breathing really forms a box where there's 4 sides and all 4 sides are equal. So we can pick a number, and I usually go with 6. So I will inhale through the nose for 6 counts, hold my breath for 6, exhale for 6 counts, and then hold for 6 again. So it forms a box, right? 6 on each side. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. So it's real simple. I just breathe in, count to 6, hold, exhale, hold. What you can find and realize is that even when you're not stressed or panicked or whatever, if you have an elongated exhale, if you exhale for 6 or 8 or 10 seconds, you will find that you're calming down anyway. You find that, like, if you were to do that right now, when you feel a panic attack or an anxiety attack coming on and you do that, your brain, your fight or flight is telling your body, we need to breathe fast right now. There's a threat. And your body's responding by saying, no. In fact, I'm intentionally going to breathe slower. It's like, no, thank you, brain. We don't need that right now. We're not going to do that. And so maybe the brain wants your lungs to work faster, to breathe faster, to survive, but you're holding your breath. And as you hold your breath, you know why you're doing it. You're employing this technique. And so what happens is your brain has to recalibrate. Wait a minute, what's going on? So you're telling me, body, you're telling me, lungs, that you don't need all this extra oxygen right now. And then you are intentionally turning off your fight or flight principle. You're turning it off. You are calming yourself down. So again, box breathing. Inhale through your nose 4 seconds, 6 seconds, whatever is comfortable for you. Inhale through your nose, hold 6 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds, exhale through your nose, and then hold for 6 seconds. And you can do this until you calm down. Do it 2 cycles, 3 cycles, 4 cycles, whatever you need to do until you can feel in your body that you have calmed down and regained control. And so, recognize that I'm talking about what you feel. So you can't have this preset number. You can't say, I'm going to do it twice. And then you do it twice and you recalibrate. You feel like you're still having issues. Then you get anxious and then you become overwhelmed with an anxiety attack. What you have to do is realize that the anxiety attack is physiological. It's happening in your body, initiated by your brain. So now you're using your body to tell your brain, please stop, turn that off. And so then you're able to return to a state of balance, homeostasis, we call it, right? Calm down and relax. And then the third one I want to talk to you about is the 3x3 rule, and it's very similar to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, except you're going to pick 3 things, and it involves your body more so. So the first thing you're going to do is identify 3 things that you see, 3 objects. So I do this real quick. I feel my breath, feel my heart. I look up and say, oh, I see a monitor, I see a laptop, I see a microphone. Then 3 sounds that I can hear. Okay, what do I hear? Again, neighbor's dog, I can hear traffic, I can hear the fan in my laptop. So, and with this one, just like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, it begins with you acknowledging that a panic attack is happening, is about to happen and occur. And then you take that first deep breath. It's almost like the pause before you take action, right? So, oh, I'm feeling this way. Let me breathe. Open my eyes. What do I see? Laptop, monitor, microphone, blue light. Just pick 3 things. And then you pick 3 things that you can hear: neighbors' dogs, traffic, my laptop. And then the last thing is you move 3 body parts. And this really brings into focus the power of the mind-body connection. So the body is trying to panic. The body is going all in on breathing fast, heart rate, the whole 9. You probably feel your fists clench, your shoulders are up and they're tight. You can feel your clenched jaw. So the third thing you do in the 3x3 method is move 3 body parts. And so what you can do is you can wiggle your fingers, you can roll your shoulders, you can just raise your hands up and stretch, body nice and tall, wiggle your toes, move your knees back and forth. Different things that you can do, but when you do those things, they do not align with panic. And so you're informing your brain that there is not an immediate threat. So I'm going to go over them again real quick. The first one is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. The second thing I talked about was box breathing. And the third thing is a 3x3 rule. These are 3 different methods that you can use to stop an anxiety attack when you first begin to feel it come on, when you first begin to feel in your body that you're going to have an anxiety attack. And my advice to you is to practice these now. Practice them before you have an anxiety attack, so that when it's time to put it into action, it's not new to you. You're not trying to remember, oh, what did he say in the video? What did he say in the podcast? You're not trying to remember. You've practiced. And it takes very little effort. You're not going to make a show or a scene, because you can do it all in your head. You can just look around. What do I see? What do I hear? Let me move 3 body parts. Let me do a couple box breathing techniques, right? And so it's very simple to do, but it's simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It takes practice. But if you practice these, I guarantee you that you will get better at stopping the anxiety attacks before they overwhelm you and take control of you. And so, with that said, I just want to say thank you very much for all of you that stayed and watched the whole thing. I appreciate you. And again, if you want to learn more, every single week I'm here with another episode of the Cope Life Podcast, where we are striving to build a community of kindness, optimism, positivity, and empathy. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.